so excited to have you all back with us again today. So you guys know the Cafecito by now. Hopefully you do. If not, if you're brand new, which we welcome all our newbies, it is a series that focuses on founders who are doing extraordinary things in these times of troubled waters, our COVID years. I mean, when we're going to look back on this in 10 years, y'all, we're going to see all those commercials about, did you have to work during COVID? Were you required? You may be eligible. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Welcome. I am so excited to have our founder that is also a dear, dear family member of mine through love, Shannoah Green. Everyone, welcome her.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be a part because I've always looked up to you since I was a young little grasshopper. So this is like so full circle.
Oh, you know, her and Kapila, I heard that young. Okay, she's right. I've known her since she was 10 years old. Now she's a grown woman doing her thing. I am so proud of you. Like, you have always been that child going into young adulthood who have kind of had a vision for your life and wasn't always patient for how it's going to come together. You were always just like fighting and trying to figure it out. And I'm just so excited how far you've come and to just be sitting here with this extraordinary young woman and all that you're doing. So tell the people who you are and what is your company?
Yeah, so I'm Shannoah Green. I am a Tucson, Arizona native. That's super rare these days to come across a native of Tucson in a transient city. So with that being said, I obviously am a Black woman, so I grew up Black. I grew up with a Black family. I had Black friends and family, and I didn't necessarily see the dissonance between there only being less than 5% Black people in Tucson and like a greater population of other ethnicities and races and cultures until I got into like college and had to come back. And I'm like, oh, like this is kind of weird that there's only 5%. And as I got, more into like my corporate footing, at the time I was working at Intuit and having like my first real corporate job, I noticed the disparities again, like, there isn't a lot of us in these tech spaces, but there's just not a lot of us really in the city, period. And I just continued to kind of cultivate that idea. And it wasn't until February of 2018 is when Curated Colour was birthed out of just the need of seeing more young Black and brown entrepreneurs, creatives, young professionals in a space where we can all kind of collectively pull on each other, build each other up, and also just have a space where it's safe for us to have a good time as well. Because if you've ever been to Tucson, there also isn't a huge Black culture scene. So I wanted to make like a dual purpose type of environment where it's like, hey, you can get what you need in terms of networking and seeing other creatives, and you can build an exchange. If you're a model and you're needing a photographer, or if you're a business owner, if you're looking for more people to sell to, whatever your niche is, you were able to kind of identify it in that area, but also have a little party at the end because we deserve to have a little lituation and let our hair down and just kind of like, not have to worry about Crystal and Bob in the office from time to time and just have a time to decompress. So then that's where Curated came from. Curated Colour came out of that idea of just wanting to serve two purposes to meet the need for our Black young professionals in Tucson. And then that just grew really quickly because there wasn't really a space where, again, it was meeting both of those needs. And then COVID hit, and then we've had to make major adjustments in the way that we kind of like meet the need of our base and community here in Tucson. But overall, that was really like the overall vision and how it kind of came to be, just out of a need of wanting to see more Black and brown people networking, because even the local networking spaces here are predominantly white. And they're inclusive, but for the most part, if you're working in a white space, I don't necessarily want to network in a white space too. So I think it was just like giving an opportunity for people to have leverage and, choices.
I love what you were saying about the genesis of how this all came about, because I lived in Tucson for quite a while. That's how we connect. Our families connected. And you're right. I've always felt there was a level of inclusivity with Tucson, and definitely a what is the right word? A a strong enough support system where if you were a woman, um,
Mm-hmm.
had the support in starting your own business, you were encouraged, or a person of color
Mm-hmm.
start their own business. I feel like that definitely was encouraged and supported, and um, but at the same time, that did not negate the fact that there was still all of these spaces that did not have a representation of us, and those
Mm-hmm.
people that occupied that space did not have a problem with it, right? And it was a struggle to even understand, how do you break into that space? How do I fit into that?
Mm-hmm.
And I love how you stepped back and said, well, maybe it's not so much fitting in, maybe it's more about us creating our own space. Because, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, it's not always about, I want to commune with the same people in the workspace that I do out in my private space. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I said, I want to pick and choose, but you were about to say something?
No, 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 I was just in agreement with you. I think that that's important to sometimes just have a space that I think that you can create and be in your own environment, that you don't have to feel like you're being, I don't know, placating to whatever your environment is. You can just be your authentic self without it having to, because I think we all wear a corporate hat. If you're in corporate, if you work in a corporate environment, I think
True.
as a person
Yeah.
of color, and a Black woman specifically, I have to be conscious of the space that I'm in. I can't always be my authentic self, unfortunately, because there's repercussions sometimes that come to that. If I'm too opinionated, if I have an opinion too much, or if I voice, dissatisfaction with an idea, that can come off as some type of like narrative or preconceived notion that sometimes I don't want to have to deal with those microaggressions in a networking space either. Like, I'd rather just be in a space that already knows what those microaggressions are and not have to identify them or feel them in a space that looks like me or feels
Yeah.
like me.
Yeah. And we're starting to see those walls being pushed down, right? Because we've been operating with these different masks for quite a while. And
Yeah.
what I love most about your generation is that, along with my generation, is that we're rising up and we're
Mm-hmm.
saying, you know what, I'm not gonna play to this no more.
Exactly.
I'm done. I'm done. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get all of me. And if that's a problem, then I'm gonna need you to take it up with the appropriate person, because that's not gonna be no longer. Like, I'm not gonna play to that anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
you I mean, I know you're born and raised in Tucson, and knowing that the population is such a small representation of Black people. I know the Hispanic culture, the Mexican culture, is much more larger there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So growing up there and seeing that the representation for Black wasn't as strong as the representation for other minority groups of color, how did you see there being a need for incorporating both Black and other people of color? Because it seems like, well, maybe there was already a community, a strong operating
No,
for.
that's a great question. I think overall, because I know that people sometimes have a problem with identifying with Black for whatever reason. I guess that's their own personal preference. I personally don't, but I do make it be known that this is a Black space. However, for those that do identify as a person of color, whether they be, mixed, whatever the case may be, Black, brown, whatever you're, as long as you have some melanin or some color to your skin. I just wanted to say inclusive of it being like people of color, because I know that there are some people that are African Americans or identify as Black, but they rather use the term POC. So I just wanted to kind of like umbrella, or I guess like categorize that in some way that still spoke to culture that was something that we identified with, versus it just being like, a networked name of just like the Tucson Curated Color chapter network. I don't know, like I didn't want it to just feel very structured like the ones that are already in existence. And they do great work, don't get me wrong. We're actually going to be partnering with them in next week. We're going to be doing a round table with one of the biggest networking groups here locally. But I just felt like there wasn't a space that hit both of the needs in my mind. Again, I think that there needed to be a networking space because that's very important. And I think as a millennial, that is something that I think is prioritized for people that work in corporate or working like a working person. But I also felt like there was a need for them to just get out and let their hair down. Like the people that I know that get recruited from Raytheon, that lived in Houston or got recruited from Mississippi, and they come here and they literally just sit in their house or their apartment every weekend, and they don't see people that look like them. They're not able to express the issues that they're having. They're not, even if they don't want to express, just be in an environment that feels home and safe for them to just have a drink and see a black girl or see a black guy or see somebody of color and just feel safe and welcome. I just wanted to make sure that there was that gelling of the two, because, you know, I think that it was important, and I didn't see why it couldn't happen.
I just love that. I appreciate it because you literally have been able to create two of the best worlds. The professional, you can network and still get stuff done, but also the space that allows us to be our authentic self, which is fun and engaging. We love music, we love to dance without the judgment of what that's going to be about come the next day when we're in the office.
Yeah, we swag surf every event. Like that's like a part of that's how we transition into the party. So we'll have the networking phase. I'll facilitate questions around that. And then after people kind of make their rounds of meeting new people, I'll do a drawing of a card. So I don't tell people to bring their business card. I hope that they will. So if there are people that are there that they bring their business card, I do a drawing, and whoever card that I pick, I give them a gift card, and then that's when we transition into the party. So it kind of works. Again, it's been something that people have gravitated to and have enjoyed, and I'm just thankful for people being receptive of such a unique concept, and just being open to want to be in that type of environment, in that type of space, to just kind of see where it will go.
I know when I lived there, I used to be a part of Young Black Professionals, but again, it was just kind of like this meeting, very structured type tight space. It was great because obviously I'm around other Black professionals, but it was like very meeting, very traditional. And then it was like, if you wanted to do something fun, then you did that separate. It wasn't kind of like this. And then I remember there was also something called First Fridays, I think it was.
Okay.
But those was those had a little they were a little too special. Sometimes they turned into like lit parties when it was like, wait, hold on, where's the professional part? There was no, it was like, ooh,
I mean, don't get me wrong. We do, once that time comes, we're there. Like once the networking is there, we're very about the networking part. But once it's time to transition, we're not playing any games. It's time to get lit.
Yeah, and yes, and that's my point that I'm making, that you all have been able to kind of hone in on that recipe that, allows for the professional, but still not in this kind of rigid way. It's still relaxed and fun, but it is the professional time. And then the fun space where it's not like, ooh, do I need to dodge a bullet or, the cops on their way because somebody in the pop up. I think that you have found a really good balance for that. So obviously, as we're talking, and the business that you have curated is one that requires space time, right? And we're in these COVID times, and we can't have FaceTime. So how have you pivoted with this model to still stay connected to your community, but still run a business and not have to get down?
That's a great question. So that's been, obviously, I think that's been most business owners' biggest challenge and roadblock, is to try to identify what is going to still service their bottom line and base while still trying to be inventive in these unprecedented, unfamiliar, crazy times. And at first I struggled. We tried the virtual Nasha nets and it to me just didn't hit the same. It just didn't to me, and it could be that I just overthought it, but to me it just didn't resonate the same way, because there are already people kind of doing the whole like virtual conferences and virtual platforms and things like that, and I think people are coming to a point where
pause right there. I forgot you brought up another business that you hadn't talked about, because you are a multitasker like your mama and daddy, who I know very well. Nosh and Net. So can you talk about, just share a little bit about what that is, and then continue on with your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I apologize. So Curated Colour is the organization and the brand, but Nosh and Net is actually the two-part networking and party event. It's a two-part event, and it's called Nosh and Net. So I usually facilitate local food, preferably Black-owned. I try my best to have it be Black-owned food vendors that provide food during the networking portion, and then that's the Nosh, and the Net as well. So the Net could also be like networking, so socializing as well. I also kind of wanted to reframe the thinking and like the paradigm of networking. Yes, I think networking is like in the corporate way where you're meeting, you're doing your elevator pitch and whatever the case may be. But I thought of networking could also, even if I looked it up, I'm not trying to change the definition of networking, but it also means that you're meeting other people, socializing. It doesn't always have to be relegated to, meeting somebody and exchanging information for business, specifics. So that's why I thought Nosh and Net to me was just like the perfect kind of name for this two-part event, because I think that's exactly what we're doing. We're eating, we're socializing, we're networking in a full concept, not just networking in the sense of like business cards and facilitation, but like we're networking in a sense where we're bringing everybody together. I'm adding people to my Rolodex, if you will, or my network, that just socially, you know what I mean? I think that's an important layer to it as well. It doesn't always have to be that you're adding people to your network to have it be exchange of business or affiliates or partners or whatever the case may be, but you can add people to your network socially, especially if you don't feel like you have a sense of home and community. So that's what Nosh and Net is.
I love that. I love that. Now, carry on with that. I know I redirected for a little bit, but I wanted the audience to really understand kind of the holistic portion of what that is. So you were sharing about how you were able to pivot. So the Nosh and Nash is the Nosh and Net is the in-person thing. So how were you able to pivot again?
So right now, the best way that we've been able to pivot while still making sure that we touch base with our Black community is partnership. So because Nosh, or Curated rather, has grew because of the Nosh and Net events, it has created a space for me to have leverage in partnerships with other people. So I was a part of a partnership called Blaxfriday, which was launched. We started with the website, and it happened a week after, to pretty much kind of like just make sure that we champion the Black community for local Black businesses and business owners here in Tucson. So we created it started off with just a Google Drive out of a need to just wanted to support Black-owned businesses locally. After the aftermath and the murder of George Floyd, it really just was an idea that we all kind of had collectively, but the six of us kind of came together as a local conglomerate, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, to make sure that we can get all of our resources in one space. Because the thing about a smaller city like Tucson, where the percent of Black people are less than 5%, you're always trying to identify other people. And sometimes it's hard to like locate who's doing what in what lane in what area. Right. So because we already had an awareness of the things that we all do locally in the city, it was easier for us to kind of just join forces and make partnerships to just get this one consolidated plan of making sure we're amplifying Black-owned businesses and creatives and entrepreneurship in Tucson to make sure that we push that forward. So we partnered with Visit Tucson, which is big. They have a huge reach. They have 60,000 followers on their Instagram alone. So we partnered with Visit Tucson to make sure that we're getting our website, to people that, visit Tucson so that they can have a place to patronize Black-owned businesses. We've also partnered with local like vendors, like Hotel Congress. It's a big Congress or a big hotel locally that's been here for 100 years. We partnered with them to do Soul Food Wednesdays, just making sure that we make a footprint in these places that haven't had any kind of Black culture before. And it's really kind of, again, people have galvanized around that idea because now we have an app. So we have a Blaxfridays app. So every Friday we pursue or we we push people or encourage people rather to always shop and buy Black. So like they can always have a resource on their phone as well as our website. And now I think we're almost at 300 Black owned business owners
Wow.
on the directory list. And this is the big news. We haven't actually just like officially like launched it. I hope they won't be mad at me. But we actually have now
Exclusive.
started. Yeah. We just actually expanded our footprint into Phoenix. So now we actually have Phoenix Black-owned businesses added to that link. So now we're partnering with our Phoenix networks to make sure that we can just even make this even more inclusive. And essentially, we want to just make it be Blacks is like the primary Black app in Arizona, period. So you can just find any kind of Black food, dining, haircut, hair, esthetician, literally everything that you need, everything Black is going to be housed on the Blaxfriday.com or on the app, just to facilitate and continue to push Black culture. So that's the biggest pivot we made, is just making sure that we are in agreement and partnership with an overall making sure that we can just push Blackness in the city and just overall to make sure that those things are amplified. So that's the biggest and most I would say thing I'm most proud of is that it's gone beyond just a networking phase, and it's pushing to just make sure we can help smaller business owners to get more money in their hands.
I think that is something that is so crucial during these times, is to be able to pivot and not only sustain your own business, but help other Black-owned businesses to do the same. And you all are doing it by creating a space where not just them and our, the Black folks in our community and in your community can tap in, but anyone who wants to patronize can have that access. This is huge, because when I lived there, I remember we were just hard pressed to find anything, and it was one of the things where it was you had to ask somebody, you knew somebody, it's kind of like that kind of home game type of sharing knowledge, and to really push this forward in a way that is so simple, right? It's like duh, but again, it still takes time, it takes money, it takes people like managing this, right? In order to make it successful. So the Black app is called Black Friday.
Yeah, Blax, BALAX.
Okay, so right now it's on, anyone can download it on iOS or Android.
Not for Android users just yet. So it's strictly on Apple iOS App Store, but the website obviously is available for anyone to use at any time. And actually, if it's a local business, right now it's still locally, but you could actually add your business listing to the website, and then you can so essentially the website is like set up as an interface where they can create their own web page essentially. So you can add their own business listing. So say for instance, it was like We the Plug, right? And it's Christina, whomever, and you would add your photos, your links, whatever. You're building pretty much your own website on the Black's page so that people can continue to kind of patronize that. So that's what we've integrated as well. So that, we can kind of also put the baton and the responsibilities on these business owners to just kind of, not to enable them, but I mean, we've already created the platform, but just to continue to push that, now it's in your hands to continue to cultivate your business. So not really trying to, enable them too much, but give them the platform to be like, hey, this resource is here. There's tons and tons of opportunity. Like, we've had tons of press around it. Don't, mishandle this opportunity. Here is your website, essentially. Do something.
But I think also the takeaway from this is that we already know as business owners, there is so much undertaking to launching and maintaining. And typically it's like one person, two people, maybe three, doing 10 different jobs, right? So to be able to remove a barrier, a huge barrier out of their way to say, hey, look, we already built it out. All you got to do is plug in the content. Moreover, the price point for even having a website to get someone is so enormous. And you all coming in single-handedly saying, not only are we going to help grow your business to a larger audience, but we're also going to do it in a way that is affordable, so much so that, I mean, it's almost like a non-brainer to even move forward with this.
I agree, because that was one of the things. So we would have weekly meetings on Monday,
Yeah.
and that was one of the discussions that we had, is that when we were developing because it started up as a Google Drive, like just a Google Sheet list, and we were discovering that a lot of the websites were either broken 504 links, or they just didn't have websites at all. So we were like, okay, well, how can we make sure that we can still offer up their service and still be contacted in a way where they could still kind of have some sort of like internet presence and SEO somehow. And that was just the best way that we can kind of like leverage that wouldn't kind of put us in a bind, but wouldn't, put any additional restraint on the business owner. So I'm excited about that. We're continuing to develop. It's been really encouraging. We've partnered with local hotels in the city. We're now doing a campaign called 10 Weeks, 10 Ways, which is also spotlighting where was a shirt that was created. And if people buy the shirt, it can actually, those 100% of the proceeds will go to a specific local small business of their choosing. So right now we're running that campaign for Black business owners right now. So it was right now the biggest pivot for Curated Color was partnerships. That's the biggest thing that we were able to do, because I didn't want to just make sure that we were satisfying our base. I wanted to see what the collective base was, because again, I think after the aftermath of George Floyd, I think a lot of people just wanted to see the Black community strengthened overall. So regardless of whatever way that looked, I wanted to just make sure it was going to evolve into something greater, and making sure that we can just have a hand in that and, keep pushing that forward.
I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from what you were talking about when you're looking at pivoting. There's so many different ways to do so. There are people who have pivoted, and I mean, you hear about people who had manufacturing companies and they pivoted, and now they're doing PPE, or they're doing takeout. Restaurants now have like kits, food kits that they're putting, and all these creative things. And I think that's the best thing that have come out of this. It's challenged us to kind of think outside of the cookie cutter mold that we've just been force fed for generations. It has to be done this way. Why does it have to be done this way? And the other thing that I really appreciate that we haven't touched on directly, but you have in how you pivoted, is not seeing anyone as your competitor. When you're able to look at each other and see opportunity, expand each other's network, so that it grows your net worth.
Yes.
I think the biggest takeaway for anyone in this group, especially when you're starting out small and your platform is not as large or widespread, or your business like yours was such in a niche area where it's like, like if we can't meet in person, then what we gonna do? And you to be like, okay, hold up, wait a minute, let me look around and see what others are doing, and literally plug in. I mean, that's what we're talking about when we talk about we the plug. We are the plug. Literally, all we have to do is just step back and look to our left and our right to see who is operating in our ecosystem, and then partner with them, plug in with them. And not everything is going to be a good fit, right? But it's still the changing your mind to say, I don't have to go this alone, right?
Yeah.
They are not my competitor
at all.
And how do we build this out so that it's sustainable? Because the model you have is sustainable. Like, you can take this moving forward no matter what pandemic comes our way. I mean, that outside of all of Wi-Fi shutting down, I mean, then it's like, well,
imagine that.
Well, I mean, I already figured it out. We're just gonna hang out with the Amish because they've been holding it down all these years, so we good. We good.
Like, what if net neutrality was like a real thing? Like, what if that actually went through? Imagine how we.
Girl, listen, I'm telling you, I'm good with the Amish. And then I was thinking about, I could go to the Amazon. I'm like, let me just try to make friends with folks. But no, I mean, seriously, the way that you have been creative in changing your mindset first and foremost, and then, like I said, finding a way. It's always about finding a way that you can sustain yourself and then lifting up your community. One of the things that I talk about every Cafecito is, what is your call to action? And I feel like you have literally told the audience their call to
Mhm.
action, which
Yeah.
is partner, partner, partner. Find
Yeah.
that community, right?
Hmm. If you want to help though, you want to help yourself. So it's like, that was just really the position that I took. I'm like, well, we tried it the virtual way. I don't think that that's really for us necessarily, unless we find a lane that really will satisfy online exclusivity, period. Then, which I think I may have found, I wasn't trying to force fit a virtual experience just because that's what the climate is facing. You have to make sure it makes sense for whatever your brand or business is. If your brand is not really internet spaced heavy, then don't try to force it. You may isolate your base and your bottom line by pushing or forcing a virtual experience. I mean, definitely give it a try, but if that's not what your makeup is and it doesn't quite fit, then you might isolate your base. And I was hesitant to isolating anybody in my specific demographic, because I know that we're always on Zoom calls. I know that there is Zoom fatigue. I don't want to have a BYOB happy hour or virtual experience sometimes. Like, it just doesn't fit for our people. However, it made sense to partner with people that, had already been doing events virtually or already kind of had a footprint in the tech space, or, people that are business owners or people that do VR experiences. All of these people that make up the Blaxfriday team were either business owners or creatives that do things virtually or have done things in person, whatever the case may be. And we all kind of just partner together to make sure that we can get this larger agenda of making sure that we're pushing Blackness in the city overall. Like, who doesn't want to be able to every Friday make sure that we're, patronizing a Black business, and then
Right.
having an IG takeover on the city's Visit Tucson page to get even more exposure for Black businesses in Tucson. Like, that to me was far greater than trying to force fit a virtual experience for Curated Colour.
Absolutely. I think you are just a leader, and I'm just so excited to hear how you've been able to kind of take this on and also share these nuggets with the audience. So, what is next for Curated Color? What do you all have that you can share with us? Because I know you have quite a bit that you're working on, but
Yeah. Well, what we can, I mean, I've already shared that our continued partnership with Blaxfriday is continuing to evolve, and we're now expanding our footprint into Phoenix. So we're now partnering with an organization out of Phoenix that is. So we did a pitch called Pitch Blacks. Pitch BLAX, and it was our virtual version of a Shark Tank. So we had 13 local Black business owners pitch their business on a virtual scale, and the audience voted on the best pitch. And whoever had the best pitch, we gave $500 to, right? So now with more leverage of partnering with Phoenix, now we're raising the stakes. So now we're talking about, well, I won't say the amount, but we're raising the amount, right? So we're getting more leverage and having more opportunities for people to continue to get their businesses out there, get more exposure, whether they win or lose, and get money on top of that, right? So just continued partnership with Blacks, continued partnership with local businesses in the city that can integrate Black culture in their businesses that haven't always done so. So like Soul Food Wednesdays with our, one of the biggest hotels here in Tucson, partnerships with our campaigns of 10 weeks and 10 ways to make sure that, small businesses are getting a percentage of those shorts that are made. And so for now, another partnership that I'm thinking about doing is doing like a speed dating virtual type of experience.
oh my God, stop it.
Yeah, I think it's going to
I
be cute
love
because
it.
I
I think
think
that would be
that's
so
going to be
much
the
fun.
next thing. I'm thinking of calling it Curated Connections, and we're gonna just have a thing where, yes, Curated Connections. So like, we're all online. I don't think we really anticipate being able to go out. Like, we really want to, depending on
That
who the
is the
person,
cutest thing ever. You all
right?
starting like a date, like literally, like I've done speed dating before. It is the funniest thing, but I'm a social, but like I love that whole like scene. Like, it's so much fun. It's so entertaining. But so anyway, you're thinking about doing this, launching this,
Yes,
dude,
yes.
I'll be one of the attendees. I will sign up
Yeah,
because
and again,
I
because
think
it's
it's so,
virtual, I want to make it
yeah,
available for everyone. So again, I think I think Nashanette is always going to be the staple that jump started Curated Color. But to me, I think it just I have to continue to think outside the box. So it may not be, you know, restricted to it being this like networking and party event space. That's fine. What the tagline of Curated Color is creating safe space for us to build, exchange, and connect. So that's not limited. We can build,
yeah,
exchange, and connect anywhere and any place at any time, no matter what that looks like. So we're building in the partnerships that we're doing with Blacks. We're exchanging in the partnerships that we're doing locally with our business owners in the city. And we're connecting now with creating more opportunities for like more Black people to meet other Black people because while they're stuck in quarantine, like, so I think overall I'm excited about the potential and just the opportunities that we're doing. So that's going to be up next on the docket for Curated is Quarantine Connection. And we're going to plug everybody in. We're going to have a speed dating thing. I'm so excited about that. So I'm going to be partnering with the
I'm
local.
so here for that.
Isn't that cute? Like, imagine it's like a platform where like we have a DJ, like little in between sets. We'll have a little break where you can grab your drink. I'll have my DJ do a virtual set. I'll set up different rooms where you literally get 3 minutes and you have to just get your stuff off in 3 minutes, and you're on to the next person.
On to the next, and you have a little ding ding on.
No,
That's
literally.
the cutest creative idea that I have heard that I think would take off immediately, because we are like over the whole kind of meeting thing in the social sense of it, right? Because obviously we have to use Zoom and it's fine, but in the kind of social way of it, it's just like, this is safe, you know, you don't have to worry about COVID when you're doing that, but you still have that interaction, you can laugh, you hit it off, and now you're going to make new friends, and if nothing else, you'll make good friends. That's what happened to me. Like, I went on a couple of days and I was like, it's a no for me. I think I felt the same thing for them with me. But no, what I really appreciate is that you're constantly challenging yourself to think outside of, you know, what would be considered the safe way to go. And I think that's another thing that is a good takeaway from here, is really challenge yourself. I think you've said some really great things that really stuck out to me. One was partnership is key. The second one is, don't feel pressured to fit into this kind of web space if that is not what you've been accustomed to and it doesn't work for you. Do not feel pressure to do that. Take the time to kind of self-evaluate and get yourself around a really good group, because that's what it sounds like you did, of maybe not by title mentors or coaches, but they definitely were, you know, you guys were sharing ideas, creative space. And then the third thing is think outside the box. Those are the three takeaways I've taken from this chat today. This is really incredible, Shannoah. Like,
we can partner. We can even partner if you want to get in on this Curated Connections, because I'm really trying to reach out.
What is it, the call to, what is it, the ask for the audience that they can tap into with you?
So specifically the call to action that I'm looking for the audience to pick up to and to kind of tune into, first, Blaxfriday, look out for that, because it's not going to, I know for a fact we're not going to be limited to Arizona. I think this is going to be
so excited for this.
So I'm super proud of the work that we're doing in such a short time. Like, again, we launched with the wake of George Floyd, and that was when, June sometime. So we've been moving pretty quickly. We got the website launch, we have the app, we're expanding our footprint. So I'm very excited about that. So Blacks, BALAX, Friday. And even if you're not local to Tucson, you can still, they have shipments, like you can still log in, subscribe, and, you know, patronize a Black-owned business and make sure that that Black dollar is being circulated within our community. The next thing I would like for people to kind of get into is our partnership potentially with We The Plug to get a Curated Connections virtual dating experience going on. I think that's going to be so lit. Like, honestly, when I think about it, I'm like, ooh, that sounds so fun.
That sounds so fun. And I mean, obviously, We The Plug is definitely going to be partnering with you all. But the virtual dating thing, like, yo, I'm all about that. That is going to be so lit. I am, I'm just excited about how all of this is unfolding in such a timely manner. And then the opportunities for folks to tap in on a global level with you and what you all are doing. I mean, again, this can be replicated anywhere. And
Yeah.
so for anyone who is listening today and is trying to figure out, you know, which way can I go with this business idea that I have, or my business, you know, and have heard what Shannoah was shared with you, definitely reach out to her directly. We'll share in a minute how you can find her. And those of you all who are across the waters, who love what you heard today and maybe you're interested in breaking into this space, definitely reach out with her to her directly, because again, this model can work anywhere because we're everywhere. We're everywhere, and we're all looking for communities in our space that we feel comfortable in, celebrate in our Blackness. So
Yeah.
definitely reach out to her. So tell the people how they can find you, Shannoah.
So I first want to plug Blaxfriday's Instagram. And again, if there's any business owners that are irrespective of Arizona, please definitely reach out, because we definitely want to get the conversation started, because again, it's not going to be just limited to Arizona. That's where it started, but that we plan to extend that reach. So definitely reach out. So that's BALX Friday on Instagram and on Facebook. And as well as the website is Blaxfriday, BLAXFriday.com. For me specifically, is going to be Curated Colour for my business specifically, and hopefully Curated Connections. That's going to be coming out. I'm planning for that to be within the end of September, so like fall, when people are kind of like, you know, really inside. And that's going to be CUR.
What is it called? Coupling.
Isn't it lockdown? What is it? Cuffing season. Cuffing season.
Yeah. I'm like, what is it? Coupling? No, it's cuffing season. Yeah, y'all. Get ready for cuffing.
We're going to get it happening. Cuffing season. That's when we're going to do Quarantine Connections. I have this all planned out. I have my list.
I hope you do interviews with after, like, you know, what is it called when you do a I
know what you're talking, like testimonials, because I've even
like,
had
not testimonials, but you know, like on the Real World, or like when you're like after the date is over or whatever, then you like talk about how it went or whatever. Like, I would dish with you. I totally would be like, all right, let me talk to Shannoah to know about all of this. No, there's so many ideas. I'm so excited. Okay, sorry. You can find Shannoah on Instagram. With
SHANNOAHG. That's my personal Instagram. Again, SHANNOAHG. It should pull up after you put in 2 N's, because
I'll put it down in the comment part. I'll attach it all as well.
And Curated Colour has 2 underscores. CURATED __COLOUR, because it's color, like the English way. So yeah.
Girl, and obviously you can find her on We the Plug site as well, and message her on there. And partner. Yeah, she is everywhere. Are you on Facebook as well? She's on Facebook as well.
I am on Facebook. I don't use it often though, but I am on Facebook. I'm more of an Instagram type.
Same.
But look me up, Shannoah Green, on Facebook as well. I welcome all friends. We can connect. We can flesh out ideas. Definitely reach out if you're a Black business owner, or you are a mover and shaker in your industry for specific Black businesses and entrepreneurship. Definitely reach out to the Black page, because I actually run the Instagram, so I'll know it.
Awesome. All right, you guys have it there. So, Shannoah, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today, taking out the time. I know you have a lot on your plate. And again, just the way you just changed the game for Tucson. And I mean, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. I think you're going to help put Tucson on the map in a whole different way than it has been in the past.
Honestly, that is encouraging, and like I'm humbled by hearing that. So I'm thankful. I'm just thankful to be able to be a conduit for something greater.
Yeah, and you're talking to someone who lived there, so I know what you're doing is so necessary and is so innovative. So, you guys, again, find her on those platforms that we talked about. Thank you so much for taking out the time to hang out with us today. And we hope that you have a blessed rest of your day. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.